Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Jason Howell will kick things off with a look at the new Nexus player. This is Google's return to this space.
It's like a platter of Nexus stuff.
It's
right
all
here.
Nexus.
Yeah.
This is the Q, which came out 2 years ago, was kind of like this, right?
Well, you know, the Q was a sphere with a rotating top. That was like the beginning of this world.
Right.
And
Google's tried Google TV. I had Logitech's Google TV box.
At Google I/O, we had the ADT1, which is the developer kind of edition of what ended up being the Nexus player.
But this is now for sale and available.
This is for sale through the Play Store. It's the Nexus player, $99.
All of these are $99.
Well, yes, so this is just $99 flat.
Yep.
You can get the optional gamepad that I have here for $39.99. It connects via Bluetooth to the Nexus player, and I think that gaming is a big reason why you would want the Nexus player. So I would definitely encourage people to consider that. It's not a horrible price, and it's a pretty great quality controller. But so yeah, so you see the Nexus player right here. It's a low profile kind of hockey puck design here. You know it's on because of that tiny little dot up there.
HDMI cable that plugs in the back of your TV.
HDMI, you've got micro USB for developer interests.
That doesn't do anything.
It doesn't really do anything for most people, and power. So there's
no
no
Ethernet.
Ethernet.
It's Wi-Fi only.
No Ethernet, and that's definitely a big downside to this as far as I'm concerned. It's a 1.8 gigahertz quad-core Intel Atom processor, 1 gig of RAM. 8 gigs of storage, and there's no SD card slot. So right off the top, no Ethernet, no SD card slot, and 8 gigs of storage for a living room device that also plays games. So incredibly underserved, I think, for this kind of device.
Interesting. Okay.
8 gigs of storage where the system is eating up 3.5 gigs, somewhere around there. Yeah. Right off the top leaves you with 5 gigs to play around with. And if you're installing games, if you're using this as a game device, it's not very much, particularly because a lot of these games are being retooled for the living room and they end up being a little bit larger.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that to focus on the games in this. This is, of course, plays Netflix. It does all the things that a standard.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there.
But you think the games are what makes it different?
Well, it's certainly a differentiator from something like the Roku or
which plays games but not well.
Okay.
Or the Ouya, which was really a Android-based game thing that just never took off.
Right.
Amazon has games
because it was kind of like a third-party approach to gaming on Android. This is Google's official kind of console, more or less, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah. That's a different way to think of it. It's not just a TV thing. It's a gaming device.
Exactly. The HDMI out, it's 1080p, 60 frames per second, of course, 802.11 AC, Bluetooth 4.1. And actually, if you buy this before December 31st, you get a $20 Google Play credit. So
that's pretty good.
So $100 for this, and then $20 of credit.
You can buy the controller extra for $40, but it does come with the remote control.
It comes with this remote control, so we can do the remote here. It's a small, more or less functional remote, and I don't know if we have the interface to where I can kind of.
Yeah, we're not able to watch television on this or the Fire TV later in the game because these guys have HDCP on them, so they won't let us.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's going to let me pass through any video. In fact,
there's Leo Laporte on This Week in Google. I love that show.
Are you okay, Leo?
So you can get podcasts on this too.
Yeah, so I mean, right out of the package, it's linked up to obviously all of Google's things. So that's why you see a lot of Play Movies suggestions happening here.
And
you see YouTube suggestions. You also see Haystack. I installed Haystack, which is a third-party app that's more news-based, and thankfully that seems to be tied into here. One thing you don't really see up here is Netflix. Oh, hey, My Little Pony. Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate that. One thing you don't see up here is Netflix, and you also don't see that at this point, which is probably the service I use the most, in the integrated search, which the search is definitely one of the powerful things.
Does it not have? Oh, there's Netflix at the bottom.
Yeah, so you have
the
Netflix
app,
but
you can't search.
And it came
Netflix.
pre-installed.
And
there's
the
suggestions inside of it.
Got it.
And the suggestions inside of it. So let's see. I'll do a search for.
I wonder if that's Netflix has an API, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's a Google API that Netflix hasn't worked into their app yet.
Okay.
But I don't know. I thought it was weird that they're a launch partner and they didn't have it kind of baked in. But I suppose you can hold that against Netflix. So let's see here. So do a search. Let's see if this will work. Science fiction movies from the 60s.
Oh, you can talk to it.
Okay, so that just picked up the
Yeah, that's probably our fault.
in part. Apologize about that. Movies with monkeys.
For 300, Alex. Okay.
Come on, are you going to do it? Hey, there we go.
Well,
Iron
now
Monkey,
that's
Funky
impressive.
Monkey,
Now, monkey
Curious
has to be in the
George.
title, I guess.
Yeah, and then let's see here.
Wow.
Walking Dead.
I'm sorry, I got my wow in there. But that's
okay.
all right.
It's still
smart enough.
got it. So it's able to do a lot of this kind of searching. Right now, it seems to kind of search into the Play Movies database. Actually, if I do this again, Walking Dead should give me a card. Yeah, there we go. And it'll give you the option to, hey, this is on Google Play Movies. Do you want to just go right to it? And you can,
Does it
click
push
the
you to
remote.
the paid version even if there's a free version?
That's the thing. That's why other services really need to tap into the search functionality, and so I suppose you can kind of hold them accountable. But once they do, like I know Walking Dead is for free on Netflix. I expect that when I use this search, and if I don't get that, it kind of feels a little bit like hey, we've got this paid version. Why don't you just get it from us instead? And you could probably blame Netflix.
That was one of the complaints about the Amazon Fire TV too.
Okay.
It pushed you towards Amazon content.
Yeah,
But,
which I mean, I suppose is part of their reason for having, their own ecosystem in this regard.
Now, I notice you have your Nexus 6 out. Can you control it with an Android phone as well?
I can. So there is an Android TV remote app. It's not the most beautiful app in the world, and I honestly, this was available when they did the developer preview during the summer. I truly thought they were going to revamp this before the official public release of the Nexus player, but you can do
hard
that.
to
You can also
hard to
pull
pair
up
it, or is it just see it on the Wi-Fi network and say, I see you have a
and
Nexus.
it pairs with a four-digit kind of code.
So is it Bluetooth or is it?
It pairs via Bluetooth.
Oh, it is Bluetooth?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, that's a really good question. I know that it has to see it on the Wi-Fi network, but then you're presented on the screen and on your device with a 4-digit PIN. And so that's done manually. I'm not sure if that pairing is done via Bluetooth or not. And then, of course, the controller can be paired as well. Let's see here. So, what have I... and by the way, this remote, I don't know how it comes across on video. It's super hollow, kind of plastic and cheap and whatever.
It's not that much different than the Roku remote or the
it does
Fire
the trick.
TV remote. Yeah.
It does the trick. It's
None of them are super sophisticated.
So let's get to kind of the things that you expect.
This is what I'm curious about, is the gaming.
Yeah. So so let's cut back to the video feed here.
Can we play games, or are those also copy protected?
Absolutely. So I can go home here. Let's see here.
And Goat Simulator. What games are available? Is it everything on the Play Store?
No.
Or?
So that's one big downside right now, is that compatibility has to be built into the apps. And so early on, we're seeing a small amount of apps that are actually compatible.
This is my favorite game, though.
Oh, have you played this before? I just got this last night. I just started it. It's a lot of fun.
Played it on the Xbox all the way through with my son.
There we go.
Yeah, this is...
So, I actually really... did I just turn on Dutch?
Deutsch. I'm sorry.
I did not.
Well, this is good. It's in many languages.
Apparently it is.
English being the last
English.
of which. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
How is performance on it? Now, this game was a big hit on the Xbox, the original Xbox.
I think performance is fine. With gaming...
You can play it on an iPad now.
With gaming, I find the... God, I don't find this menu system to be very intuitive. With gaming, I find the performance to be pretty smooth, pretty fluid. A little, a few slowdowns here and there, but...
I'm excited.
I'm horrible.
You know what? I'm going to go buy this just to play Stranger's Wrath from Oddworld. I love this game.
Yeah, so...
Looks good, too.
This is the kind of stuff that excites me, because long ago I stopped buying consoles for my living room. So it's kind of nice to have something that's, $100 that has the potential expansion of library, as I think Android is, will be capable of.
So you want to get that chipmunk right there. Yeah. Yeah. Fire.
There we go.
Okay.
Was that it?
Now watch, the bad guy comes out and the chipmunk, blew up the dock. There you go.
Okay. All right. Cool. So there you go. I mean, I'm not going to play through this game because that's not what this.
But
is all
I'm
about.
actually interested to see the quality is good.
Yeah, the quality is pretty good.
And
I
it
gotta
looks
say,
smooth.
But you run into a limit with storage. So the more games that you install, obviously you're running up to that.
You only have 8
storage limit.
gigs.
And so here's the Play Store, so you can kind of get a sense. Entertainment apps, there's some. There's not a whole lot. Some of the a lot of the biggies are in there. But
is there anything obvious missing?
That's a really good.
It looks like it's all there.
I mean, you've got your main.
You have Sony's Crackle. Yes.
You have Crackle. You have
yes.
TED,
Do you have Crunchyroll?
Yes. Crunchyroll I don't believe is in here.
Oh.
Haystack, Hulu, Netflix.
Seems like there's some games and content for kids, like Madeline was in there, and that's good.
Yeah, the game selection is pretty low, and I know that there's
puppies.
a lot of games in the Play Store that are gamepad compatible, but they're not necessarily cleared for Android TV yet. So I'm hoping that that happens soon, because I really, with this, just want to play games with it for some reason. It just feels like the obvious thing to do, especially when you have the gamepad. But I would say, the thing that you expect it to do, living room device, is play video pretty fluidly and all that. And more often than not, I would run into issues with video playback. I'm not sure exactly why. It's probably not going to do it right now because I'm showing it
coming to us from YouTube, right?
Yeah, so this is YouTube, for example. It's probably not going to do it right now because, it's like extended use of hours and hours of watching video at home.
But you'd find some buffering or stuttering? Or?
It would freeze up for a split second and go. I don't know if it was buffering or if it was like the processor was having a hard time keeping up with things. This is probably really confusing for people to watch.
Wait a minute. Aren't I watching a Twitch show?
But I noticed it regularly, actually, and enough where it was obvious that it was happening. And I don't feel like I see that with other devices in this kind of vein.
Is there a Twit app on there?
No, there's no Twit app on
so
Android TV.
This is a limited app store.
Limited app store, yes.
Yeah.
People are going to have to update their stuff. The UI, I think, makes sense. Nice graphical touches.
No Amazon Instant?
Voice search is awesome. No. Nope, that's not on there, so you're missing out on that. But I think, for a video player to not play back video as obvious, as fluidly as possible. That's like at the top of the list.
Right.
And that was kind of a bummer. Also, another thing before I get to the pros and cons, it has Google Cast support. So it does have...
This is, in fact, a Google Cast dongle, in effect.
More or less, but here's where it gets kind of tricky, right? So on Netflix, if I had just have my Chromecast connected to a TV and I activate Chromecast in my Netflix app and send it to a TV, it plays. Here, there's a Netflix app also on there. So regularly, I would load up my Netflix on here, connect to it via Chromecast, and send the video. And instead of just launching into the video, it would launch the Netflix app and then ask me to log in. So then I had to find the remote and log in.
Even
and then
if you'd already logged in?
Yes.
Oh, that's not good.
And so there's a little bit of confusion there. Again, don't know if it sits on the developer side or if it's on the underpinnings of Android TV, but things to figure out.
So this is the first Android TV implementation from Google?
Yes, the first consumer version of Android TV.
How is Android TV different than Google TV? Well, that's probably a long and
And you know what? I'm probably not the right person to ask that because I never had a Google TV personally. Ron Richards would be the perfect person.
It's very different from the interface point of view and much, much, much superior to Google TV. Google TV had a browser in it.
Right.
It was much more elaborate. This has more apps available. I think this is a good choice.
And that's probably it. I think that what they're doing with Android TV is they're paring it back and saying these are the limited amount of things that you can do in the living room instead of, go hog wild.
Pros and cons.
Pros, I would say Android TV just as a platform has promise. I'm looking forward to, what is to come. Gaming is a lot of fun on here. I'd say it was one of my highlights with the Nexus player. Voice search definitely has potential. It's obviously powerful, but it has ways to go to become even more powerful, which is what you expect as a user. The cons: choppy video playback, which I think is kind of a killer to a device like this. Critically low storage with no expandability. I mean, you're going to run into that limit pretty fast if you get this device. Wi-Fi only feels kind of locked down and unnecessary. I feel like it's a living room device. I should be able to plug it in through Ethernet and not have to worry about the downsides of Wi-Fi. And app compatibility, both from a search perspective and from a selection perspective, just isn't quite there. So I would probably have to say don't buy the Nexus player. Unless you're an Android fan, an enthusiast, and you want to get in on Android TV from the beginning and kind of see where it evolves, and who knows, maybe updates are going to help this, but there are critical things to the hardware that kind of hold it back right now. And I think there's going to be third-party solutions soon enough that are going to be compelling in their own right.
Also running Android TV?
Yes, absolutely.
Just with more storage, higher CPU and all that.
Yeah.